Does anyone have, there are two elements in meditation practice, and they really are connected in a very profound way. Look, we're born into karma, we're born on the earth. There has to be something to learn here to work out the karma. And as I say all the time, it's really a matter of building a system where one's heart is open, there's love, where there's happiness. We live with self-worth and we truly understand what it is to serve life and to serve God and to live in a state of surrender that way. That's one element, which is karma. Why are we born here? Well, for what ridiculous reason do we come here to go through all the turmoil and tumult and craziness that goes on here? There's a reason for it. The reason is to learn the lesson of how to transform suffering into a spiritual life. And that's the second element, which is a transcendental element and a connection between a human being and God, a very personal connection that each and every one of us has or can attain. And so you have these two elements, living in the world and being free of the world. And they both work together. They're not separate from each other. They're not distinctively different realities. They all work together. Learning how to be human enables us to become spiritually enlightened. Working out karma, by how do you work out karma? You got to become a happy person. It's the only way you can work out karma. And that we attain the highest levels of what it means to be human. And then we surrender all of that to God and attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. So it's really a twofold path. And every human being has whatever it takes inside himself or herself to do it, to build a chakra system, to develop the capacity in oneself to be grounded, to be open, to be happy, to live with inner peace and quiet, and at the same time, to live in the world and take care of all of the activities and relationships that are essential for us to take care of, family and jobs and the economics of our life and all these different things, but to do them with a state of inner peace, quiet, to take all the pressure and transform it into inner quiet, inner peace. It takes a very strong person to do that. And a person has to really understand the craft of meditation, and not only understand it, but how to use it, how to internalize it, how to use the tools that enable those two states of being to manifest in their life. And it doesn't require great IQs or tremendous gifts. In fact, maybe some of the less gifted people have, they're not trapped by their gifts. And they have more of a chance of becoming one with God because they're not living in the little cubicle of their own gifts that protect them against life. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? It makes everybody equal, you know. Then it depends on how you use that equality, the tools, the consciousness of why one is present living in this world. Does anyone have a question? Who would like to ask? What I love about people is the uniqueness of individuals. I think I'd be the first one to leave this meditation if I looked out here and I saw clones of myself. I, I would resign if that's what was happening to people, you know? But the fact that each person, by developing a chakra system, builds their own unique connection with higher energy in the universe. So they discover their own unique talents, their own unique gifts inside, things that are very often buried deep inside and that suddenly come to the surface. One discovers that you have a gift to be a great cook or a great this or something that you didn't even know about, but it opens these areas inside and releases these gifts uniquely for each human being. Does anyone have a question? Somebody ask a question.
Stuart, I have a question, Bob Sink.
I was going to ask you why you didn't have a question for me. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
A little earlier, you talked about surrendering to God, and that's very abstract. And so I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Look, ultimately, you know, how do I say? We all have to surrender everything ultimately. I don't care what a person attains in his lifetime. You could be, the president, the this, the that, the CEO, ultimately the universe takes it. Spirit, higher energy takes it. And what we need to learn how is to let go of live in these things, but let go of them, not be attached to them, be free of them, so that we can allow more higher creative energy, God, whatever one wants to call it, to enter our system and give us the strength to detach ourselves, from life and become one with higher energy, one with God, spiritually enlightened. I mean, can I define God? I wouldn't even try. It's a hopeless task to try to define God. But in elaborating on it, it has to do with what every human being has to do in this lifetime. I mean, there's nobody alive here or anywhere that lived in the 17th century. Every single human being in the history of time has had to surrender everything. So meditation is about building a system that's strong enough to keep, to be grateful for the fact that in this lifetime, we can become one with nothing. We can become one with higher energy in the universe. And we get free of all the suffering and difficulties that exist in this world, I mean, call it God, it's abstract, but so what, Most things in the world are abstract, we think they're concrete and they're not. Everything is part of the abstraction of life. I mean, look. I mean, I once wrote, I think somewhere in this book I'm writing, I wrote, that I just paraphrase, we live in the present and we don't live in the present at exactly the same time. Even our daydreams are mulling around in the past, our fears of the future, are wondering what's going to happen to us. And, we're doing all of that in the present. So it all becomes abstract. It all becomes kind of fantasy, surreal, dreamlike. And what's real is focusing and living in the present, being able to surrender in great depth in the present. Because the moment we leave the world is going to be the present. It's not the future, it's going to be the present. The moment we were born, not the past, it was the present. And the present is all of time, moment to moment, like a chain that connects every moment, keeps us living in the present. So we have to be able to surrender in such great depth that we've built a chakra system that is strong enough to enable our consciousness to connect with spirit. And as I say, call it God, call it higher energy, call it Jehovah, call it, whatever the name is, call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Every human being ultimately has to embrace it. And our work is about building the inner life that enables us to truly embrace it in this lifetime, to be happy people, to have love, to have joy, to have, to work out karma, to serve in the world, to use our time and energy to serve a higher force, and also to serve human beings. It's all part of spirit and learning how to grow consciously. So I can't define God. I would never try, And anyone that does try to define, God bless them, try to define the undefinable, it's not possible. But I can surrender to it without even understanding it. I know when I open to that higher energy, it completely transforms my life. It did from the day I met Rudy. It did before I met Rudy. It always transformed my life. And ultimately brought about at least a tidbit of consciousness. So surrendering to God is very abstract, and at the same time, it is about the most real thing you can possibly do in your lifetime. Because it instantly will transform people and change the way they see the world, the way they open inside, their view of life, the compassion that they will live with, the love they will live with, and have the inner strength to do all these things without life tearing them apart. I mean, it's like paradise lost and paradise regained, I'm not sure this is clear. I'm not even sure it's clear to me. All I know is it works. I don't have to know anything else. It works. What do I have to understand it? As soon as I try to understand it, I bring it down to my level of understanding. And I tried that for many, many years. It drove me crazy. I'd much rather surrender to it.
So, Stuart, what do you mean by it just works? What
Bob, it transforms your life. It transforms the whole interior makeup of your life. Suddenly, you're living here with an open heart. You're living here with love, patience, forgiveness. You're living here with all of the highest elements of what it means to be a human being. And I shouldn't say suddenly, over time, all of these things manifest inside a human being. It transforms your life. You learn how to serve in the world. And you discover that service in the world is one of the most powerful things you can do, especially in the service of higher energy. And when you serve higher energy, you will serve people also. You won't serve, you'll serve the Godhead in people, the spirit, that seed of life in people that wants to grow. It changes you. Certainly changed me. I remember what I was like pre-Rudy. Oh my God! Even with Rudy, I'll never take another student like it. Told me this half a dozen times. Too much work for me. Changed. And one day he gave me a big hug and he said, Stuart, I just want you to know of all my students, you're my favorite. Now, I'm not saying this to pride myself or but that's how it changes you. That's how it changes you. Suddenly there's simplicity, there's love, you don't know better than everybody else. You listen to people, you learn from them. And you're not right anymore in every situation. You don't have to keep defending yourself and your rightness. You trust that life is this remarkable teacher. And all of this changes a person. And that's the goal of this entire inner work and meditation, is to go through profound inner changes. Because ultimately, if you don't do it, you're going to come back here and have another shot at it, I mean, you keep coming back until one learns how to do it.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Bob. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, there are no more questions. There'll be meditation tomorrow evening. And I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving this weekend. And I hope that it doesn't stop this weekend. It goes on, continues every day of the week, to be grateful for this miracle we have of doing deep spiritual practice, of learning how to live in the world, how to be happy people, how to serve a higher energy, how to get free of oneself and of one's self-importance, or that thing we in our brain that we think is self-important, that usually just gets us into lots of trouble. So God bless you all. Thank you for being my teacher, for being here, for being involved in this. I am learning so much, about myself and about spiritual life. So thank you and bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. There'll be class tomorrow evening. So God bless you.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Stuart.
Good night.
Good night.